I'm gonna chew this cough drop real quick. That way the whole time I'm not just like, So my name is Teréz Iacovino, and the work for this exhibition is called Groundless. Within my practice, I'm always interested in how to deconstruct and reconstruct objects, whether it be cutting up prints that get sewn back together to become a larger piece, or deconstructing IKEA furniture that I've purchased, or putting together all these various different elements that make up a greater whole. And so for me, this piece Groundless, which uses tons of deconstructed IKEA furniture to create structures, really kind of reinforces this interest that I've always had in making of how to break something down to further understand it and really look at it at a very microscopic level. So for me, this piece really helps, I think, culminate in my practice these different interests that I've had over the years that maybe I couldn't quite see the connection until now, and I think that happens for a lot of artists. And so that connection being always this interest in different modes of production, this interest in this deconstruction and then reconstruction, and also in my background and in my training over the years, this use of the multiple, which comes from my studies in printmaking. And so I feel like all of these things together really culminate in Groundless, in thinking about the use of multiple pieces of furniture that are coming from IKEA, that are then being deconstructed and reconstructed into these hydroponic systems, with the added sort of concept that these materials also come from their own mode of production out in the world that also uses multiples and systems and this sort of rigorous deconstructing and reconstructing. Although I've installed this work before, there's always new challenges that arise with the spaces that the installation is put into. And what I loved about the opportunity to show at Blue House was that it brought this challenge of utilizing the architecture of this domestic space, which is far more intimate than past galleries that this work has been shown in. And so communicating with the organizers of Blue House and actually taking down measurements over the phone and trying to create structures that would fit in with the architecture that was there was really exciting and challenging, because I kind of arrived on site and didn't know if this was going to work. And in many ways I had to rethink a lot of the things that I wanted to do, because it's so different, you know, a drawing of a space taken by photos or measurements than it is when you actually get into that physical space. And so what I love though about that is it presented all of this like problem solving for me, and also using materials in, once again, that way where maybe they're intended for a specific use, but they end up being something different because of the function that you need them to be in that moment. So, for example, I had made some columnar structures to fit in with this archway at Blue House, and really had to troubleshoot how these pieces were going to attach to the archway to do what I wanted them to do in different ways, but also kind of rethink how I wanted to set up the look of this sort of artist-scientist laboratory in such a domestic space. But what also lent itself to this project that Blue House offered was the fact that it's a house, and there's sort of all of this DIY aesthetic wrapped up in what I do in relation to IKEA kind of giving the average homeowner this power to build something in that way. And so for me, Blue House reinforced that idea even more than when this work had been shown in galleries in the past. And so, if anything, I think the piece is stronger being in a domestic space now than having been any other space prior.